ambient sound. Okay, you should be able to hear more ambient sound now. Listen for the... So can you hear those jets? Somebody tell me if you can hear the jets or not. Okay, so you can hear better. Oh, you say you haven't been able to hear. I'm very sorry about that. Well, we're still learning, folks. All this technology, sometimes it goes well and sometimes it doesn't. What I've been saying, you can probably now hear the jets flying overhead, is that there are a lot of explosions happening around me. I'm in Ashkelon. You can see how empty the city is behind me. This is normally a bustling town of tourists. This is a great beach community. We're right on the Mediterranean Sea. It's beautiful. And so I'm gonna just see. Everybody can hear me okay? Okay, good. All right, here we go. Redo the live. Okay, I will redo it. All right. Hi, I'm Chuck Holton, and I'm in Ashkelon. And holy cow. Let me just introduce this live by saying that there is actually quite a lot going on, and I wanted to give you an update on what's happening here in Israel over the last 24 hours. Now, we've been doing these live broadcasts because they're popular, because people like them, because I get tired of, I am as tired probably of making the old-fashioned news as you are of listening to the old-fashioned news. What I mean by that is, traditionally, I make 4-minute news packages, so I go out and perform a couple of interviews and then do a stand-up or something, and then edit that together with a script and show it to you. The problem is, if I do a 10-minute interview with somebody, I can show you about 30 seconds of what that person said. And it's, so you get a very thin slice of the reality of what that expert or person that's involved in the crisis or whatever had to say. And that's a problem. So we started doing these live broadcasts on YouTube because A, they're popular, people watch them, and B, it allows me to be a little more informal with you. That's the point of these. We are not going to stop doing formal news. You can still go watch that on CBN's News Channel. But we're just trying this out. We're going to see if people like it. They seem to. You guys are engaged and can ask me questions. I don't watch all of the comments until I start taking questions, because otherwise it's just too distracting. But I do go back after the live is over and look through them and maybe answer questions and that sort of thing. But if you like this format, please like and share it with your friends, and let us know. Let us know you like this format and you'd like to see more of it. We can certainly do more of it. So as I said, I'm in Ashkelon in the southern part of Israel, about 10 kilometers from the northern border of Gaza. From here, I can see the explosions taking place in Gaza. At least I could today when I was taking a walk down by the beach. I can certainly hear them. Explosions like this, they travel a long way. And so I can certainly hear the explosions. I wanted to give you an update on just kind of where we are with this conflict. The conflict started October 7th, you know that. It has been going every day since. Here in Ashkelon, they get dozens of rockets every day because they're one of the closest communities in Israel from Gaza. So the lady, when I checked in the hotel here, said, look, before I even show you your room, I'm going to show you the bomb cellar where we go to hide when the rockets come in, because that's our favorite place right now, she said. And she said, if you hear the sirens go off, you have 13 seconds to get to the bomb shelter. And oh, by the way, you're on the 3rd floor. Congratulations. So I don't think I can get to the bomb shelter in 13 seconds. And so I'm just keeping my flak vest and helmet right here next to me. And if I need to, while I'm making this, if the alarm goes off, you'll see me run away, and I'll just leave the camera rolling, and you can listen and watch whatever happens out here. We've been getting about a half a dozen alerts every day. Today there was a large barrage of dozens of rockets that came in just to the east of us, but just far enough away where we didn't have to run for it. So Hamas is still firing rockets like there's no tomorrow. And there very well may be no tomorrow for Hamas if this operation kicks off tonight. So what is Israel doing? They are preparing and practicing and training and still maneuvering forces into place. We've seen a lot of that over the last 24 hours as we've gone through this. There's been a lot of activity, let's put it that way. Can't tell you a lot more than that, but that's nothing that isn't already out there, the fact that there's lots of activity. And suffice it to say that they will start the operation when it's time to start the operation. And the longer that they wait, the more desperate the people in Gaza will get, the fighters that are still in there. The more tired, because those guys have to be on alert, on guard 24/7, because they know the attack is coming and they just don't know when. So right now, Israel has the advantage here because they will attack at the time of their choosing. In the meantime, Hamas has to be on their guard 24/7, and that tires them out. They're also running out of fuel, food, water, you name it. And in the meantime, Israel is able to continue to plan, mission plan, find targets. Look, Israel has forces inside Gaza right now. I'm told there are actually even tanks in Gaza at the moment. So they've already crossed the line, but it's not a full-fledged assault yet. Now, from what I've been hearing tonight, before I got the microphone working, there were, I don't know, probably 100 explosions back here behind me, which is north of us. And that would put me between whoever's firing whatever they're firing over there and Gaza. It sounded and looked, I was able to see a couple of rockets ascending into the sky. So it sounded like Israel fired a very large barrage at Gaza. And even now, I can still hear, can you hear that? I can still hear jets overhead. So this may actually be the start of the war. We don't know. We'll find out soon enough. But they are definitely ramping up their attacks on Gaza. It was near constant today, just boom, 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 boom down there. Okay, so that's that. There was a accidental discharge maybe of a Israeli tank that hit some of the shrapnel from that hit a guard tower on the Egyptian border. That was apparently unintentional. Israel immediately apologized, and I don't think anybody was killed in that thing. There has been a trickle of aid coming into the southern part of Gaza from Egypt. I'm told that many of those trucks are half empty just because Egypt is not excited about giving aid to Gaza at all. They don't like Hamas. Hamas is affiliated with the Muslim Brotherhood, and that's a big problem for Egypt. So they would not have given aid to Gaza if they weren't pressured to do so by the United States and the West, I would venture to say. Okay, other than that, we're just sort of in a holding pattern. We're waiting to see what happens when this thing actually kicks off, and it could be any moment. It might have just kicked off because we're hearing a very large increase in the volume of fire. So just to give you an idea of where things are, what you're looking at, you're looking north along the Mediterranean coast. So right over here is the Mediterranean Sea out there, and this marketplace and these things are right on the beach. The buildings back behind me is downtown Ashkelon, so we're looking north, we're south of that. And so Gaza would be back behind the camera. I can see the corner of it if I go over here to the edge of my balcony and look around the corner. But in order to get a good view, I'd have to actually walk down over there and go see. But nevertheless, I will definitely hear it when it goes off. And if things really take off, then we will go live and give you a play-by-play as that happens, okay? So let me take your questions. If you've got a few questions, please put them up now. I'm going to get my cheaters here. Yeah, it is beautiful, isn't it? It's very unfortunate that it has to be so empty. Thank you for praying. Questions. How do you think the IDF can rescue the hostages, considering how difficult it will be to navigate within the tunnels where they're probably being kept? That is the million-dollar question. It's going to be very, very difficult to rescue any of those hostages. I think if I was a pessimist, I would say the only way any of those hostages gets out of Gaza alive, if they're even still in Gaza and haven't been smuggled to Iran or someplace, is through diplomacy. I don't think you should expect to see large numbers of hostages being rescued out of Gaza, just because Hamas is not stupid enough to keep them all in one place, and so they're going to be spread all over the place, and they're going to be underground, and it's likely that many of them have already been killed and may be killed in the process of trying to rescue them. So I hate to say that. Please pray for the people that are being held hostage, especially those sweet children, and pray that God does a miracle. He can do it. And so let's just believe that, okay? Do you know if there are rumors that U.S. special operators are already in Gaza and Israel? Yes, there are rumors. I believe those rumors. The United States has special operations units that specialize in hostage rescue. And part of that job is to do reconnaissance. And so I would virtually guarantee you that we've got Delta Force guys and maybe even SEALs in Gaza already. And I can hear a helicopter overhead. That may very well be a group of, Black Ops type special operators heading into Gaza for some sort of raid or rescue or something like that. Yes, I would say we definitely will see American special operations forces inside Gaza during this fight. Other than that, we're not going to probably see American troops on the ground, like Marines going in or anything like that. I could be wrong, but I just don't think that's likely. And the Israelis don't need or want our help with that part of it, the infantry part. But we are definitely going to be helping with intelligence, signals, and special operations stuff, okay? And if that happens, you likely won't hear about it being American troops. It'll probably be credited to Israeli forces for rescuing the hostages. That's how they roll. That's how they work. Okay? Let's see here. Israel knew where tunnels are in Gaza. Well, they knew where some of the tunnels were in Gaza. When do I think they will start the ground attack? I'll just say what I've been saying all along. They wouldn't tell me, and if they did tell me, I couldn't tell you. The precise moment of the ground attack will be a closely guarded secret, But you could say that they're already sort of slow rolling the attack by putting a couple of tanks in, a couple of units in there to do what they call shaping operations, okay? Can the people of Israel carry guns like here in the USA? They cannot. And that's really sad. The laws up until October 7th were very, very strict against the everyday Israelis owning or carrying a gun. Now, they all learn how to use the gun in their military service, but if they are allowed to have a weapon, it has to stay in the armory for on the military base, and the only way they can get it is to go check it out. So they can't carry a gun for personal protection, and the Israelis' reasoning behind that is that guns would be the number one thing that terrorists, bad people would want to steal, and then those Israeli guns would end up being used in shooting attacks against Israelis, and the government wants to avoid that. Now, since October 7th, the government has received more than 100,000 requests for concealed carry permits, for gun permits here in Israel, and they've said that they are willing to pass out guns, even assault rifles, to everyday citizens, especially in places like the West Bank, where they say they're most at risk. There's going to be a very difficult and long discussion in Israel about gun ownership after this is all over. But suffice it to say that right now, pretty much everybody you see has a gun on them, whether they're legally allowed to or not. Everybody's got a gun at this point. And everywhere you could, but there's not a lot of people out either, okay? So that's because they're prepared for war. If more people had a gun, then they probably would not have had so many people killed on October 7th. Very sad thing. I'm trying to... Do people stop you to talk about what they've been through? Not so much. We do have people, everybody asks us where we're from, and they are very excited when we tell them we're from America. So that happens. But aside from that, we don't have people just walk up and want to tell us their story. So hopefully that answers that question. Is One for Israel Ministries there helping families? I don't know anything about One for Israel Ministries. I'm sorry, I can't help you. People should be able to protect themselves. I wouldn't disagree with that. I believe Iron Sting is a mortar that is actually carried on. It's like a mini mortar that's carried on the Merkava tank. I could be wrong about that, but I know there's a interesting kind of built-in mini mortar system on these Merkava tanks, because these tanks were basically designed and built specifically for fighting in Gaza. And that's why they don't really sell them to anybody else. They are one of the most survivable tanks on the planet. They are one of the heaviest tanks on the planet, and they are very high-tech tanks with all kinds of cool technology on them, some of which we don't even have a lot of details about. But suffice it to say, I would say this will be the first war where AI plays a very large part in the war, and we'll just learn about it afterwards, probably. Okay? Am I scared of being here? No, I'm not scared of being here. That's what I do for a living. And I know when to duck. And I always buy a round-trip ticket. I'm scared of not getting home before Thanksgiving, because if I don't get home for Thanksgiving, it's going to be safer for me here than in my own kitchen. That's what I'm afraid of. Am I carrying? No, I can't carry a gun here. And besides, I got too much other junk to carry. How is the accuracy of iron beam proving? From what I've seen, it's proving to be very, very good. Are they letting more food in? Supposedly, they let more food in across the southern border with Egypt earlier today. Am I allowed to be armed ever? Not here, not in Israel, I'm not. Are they fighting mainly at Gaza at the moment? The fighting is just from the air at this point, and meaning airplanes and artillery. Am I afraid of Jesus Christ? No, I love Jesus Christ. I'm afraid of, I fear God, if that's what you're asking. Are there people out doing things like going to marketplace and such? Yeah, there are. This is a market right here, and it's open. And so the very few people who are left here in Ashkelon are going shopping there. I was one of those shoppers because there's no restaurants open. So very few. For some reason, there's pizza places open, but that's it. And I don't know why pizza places owners are, braver than all the other restaurant owners, but all the pizza places seem to be open. Why do the neighbors not want the guys from Hamas? Because they are terrorists, and they're terrorists even against fellow Muslims. Yeah, Israel is making new laws about gun ownership. You like the live stream, good. R2, why do I fear God? Because I'm commanded to. Yes. How much do you think will actually make it into the humanitarian relief, and how much do you suppose there? The terrorists own Gaza. Hamas owns Gaza. So until Hamas is gone, every bit of that aid is most likely going to go to Hamas. They prioritize themselves over everybody else. They're not going to give it to anybody that's not a fighter. Is there a shortage of supplies here in border cities? No, not really, other than the fact that not much is open. We can get pretty much whatever we need, except for Mexican food, which is a real shame. Yes, thank you, Operation Paperclip. I appreciate that. Yeah, thanks. The last 20 years, how much time have you spent away from your home? When my kids were living at home, I tried to spend less than half of each month away from home. As my kids all left home or got to the place where they, how kids get to where they don't want to spend time with you anymore. I could be gone more, but I get to take my wife with me. So my wife, for example, went and stayed for a couple of months in Ukraine with me last year. If I have to end up spending any more time here, she's going to come over here. I won't take her to the front lines, but she'll stay in Jerusalem or someplace like that where we don't have to be apart so much. So I was only in my own bed last year for 30 days out of the entire year. But I wasn't away from my family that long because I bring them with me now as whenever I'm able. Meds, water, fuel. So far here, everything, I'm in southern Israel. Israel has no problem with supplies. Does the IDF see an expansion to the front line with Hezbollah? I think that they are definitely planning for it. When I was up on the front line in the north a couple days ago, there are a tremendous number of troops, IDF troops, arrayed all along the border with tanks and armor and everything you need. And they are already trading shots with Hezbollah on an hourly basis, probably back and forth. Hezbollah is making incursion attempts. Hezbollah is firing rockets at guard posts. They are firing rockets into Israel, and Israel responds in kind and takes them out every time. I am not concerned that, when this war kicks off in the South, I think if I had to make a prediction, which I've been wrong before, but if I had to make a prediction, I would say Hezbollah will fire lots and lots of rockets, and that'll be about it. They'll have maybe a couple of incursion attempts, but I don't think there's going to be 50,000 Hezbollah fighters pouring across the border or anything like that. I just don't think Hezbollah cares that much about Hamas. I think to Hezbollah, Iran, and everybody else, Hamas is sort of expendable, and that's just my opinion. Is it safe for me to stay where I am? It's safe enough. I know when it gets too dangerous and it's time for me to leave. Does IDF really think they can eliminate Hamas now that so much time has gone by? Well, it might seem like a lot of time. 2 weeks is a lot of time, but to plan an operation with 500,000 troops, it could take a year. It takes a long time, and I liken it to sharpening your axe. The more time you spend sharpening your axe, the less time you have to spend chopping down the tree. And so Israel has been sharpening its axe, getting it right to a razor's edge before they go in. And so I don't think we need to worry about that. Thank you, Karen. That's very nice of you. Do I think Iran is going to get involved? I mean, Iran is involved indirectly with financing because they finance Hamas, Hezbollah, and everybody else that hates Israel. I don't think Iran will get involved militarily because there's no scenario where Iran doesn't lose if they do. And lose politically, lose economically, and even lose militarily. I mean, remember, Israel has like 80 nuclear weapons, and they would use them if it came to it. The only thing that scares me about Israel is that if they get a nuclear weapon, and they are very, very close and getting closer all the time, they have already declared that they will use it against Israel. I think that would be a really bad day for everybody. Thank you so much for your kind words. What can you say about the general mood of the majority of Israelis? Resolute, united, and does devoted and secular Jews. Okay, so I mean, what we've seen is that the Jews here in Israel are pulling together like never before, and a crisis like this papers over divisions, at least for a time. The crisis here, they've even seen hardcore extremist, what do they call those? Orthodox Jews, like the really hardcore ones that are pacifists. They won't join the military. They won't help fight or anything like that. They're actually joining the military now. So that's good. The Israeli government put out a call for a certain number of troops, hundreds of thousands, and they got 160% of what they asked for. So they don't even have, like, enough equipment and uniforms and everything for the people who are showing up at the door wanting to go fight. So they are pulling together. The Muslim and Arab people in Israel are just, for the most part, keeping their mouths shut at this point. There have been a couple of protests in the West Bank and that sort of thing. This morning, I drove into the Arab section of Jerusalem, in East Jerusalem. And you can tell, if you've been here, you know what I'm talking about. The second you cross into the Arab part of East Jerusalem, you know, because everything changes. The signs are in Arabic. It's dirtier. It's like the difference between San Diego and Tijuana, Mexico. It's a big difference. I went in there to do some shopping real quick, and I talked to a couple people about what was going on, and all of them are kind of cagey about the way they answer, but what they say is, we're Muslims, and so we have to be on the side of the Muslims, and we don't like what Israel is doing, and we wish Israel would not attack Gaza. And what's funny is, just a few of them have been. Did you guys see that? A couple of IDF trucks zooming toward the border with Gaza right now. So, hang on a minute. I hear something. Just a second. I'm going to go stick my head around the corner and see what's going on. Hang on. Okay, what I'm hearing is multiple helicopters, and they do not sound like attack helicopters. There have been lots of attack helicopters circling overhead for the last 2 weeks down here, but what I'm hearing now sounds more like lift helicopters, which would mean troops, most likely, or maybe equipment. And there's something going on because a lot of traffic is now going that direction toward Gaza. So I'll let you know what else I find. I was talking about going to the Arab part of Jerusalem today. Those guys, you know, it's crazy because they're under the same threat from rockets as the Jews are. A rocket isn't going to differentiate between Jew and Arab, and those rockets from Hamas they're homemade. They cut down the light poles and saw them up and pack them with rocket fuel and make rockets out of them. And so they're not very accurate at all. And because they're not very accurate, they they land anywhere, and that puts the 20% of Israelis who are Arab, 18% are Muslim. That puts the Muslim Israelis under the same danger as the Jews. So Hamas is killing lots and lots of Muslims, not only here in Israel, but in Gaza, because 20% of their rockets fall short and don't ever make it into Israel. Okay. Didn't the Palestinian people vote in Hamas? They did. Yes, that's right. They did. They voted in Hamas. Thank you for praying. Netanyahu is under a lot of pressure, for sure. He may very well not survive this. Several top-level Hamas planners were taken out in the last 48 hours, and they've formed a special unit to hunt down and kill every one of the people who was involved in the October 7th attack. How much guns and gold are inside the tunnels? Lots. Have I seen Iron Dome in action? Yes, I have. You may very well see it in action if we stay on this live call long enough tonight. You just might see it. Ground war soon? So maybe. Depends on what soon means. Am I going to report from inside Gaza? That depends on if I can get into Gaza. I'm trying to get embedded with the troops that are going in, but that's a difficult proposition. Yeah, they did. If they voted for Hamas, then they're now paying for that indiscretion. That's true. They are. What? Good question, Maverick. I don't know. Have any sacred sites been destroyed? Not that I know of. Why doesn't Israel get more involved in freeing hostages? I would say they're doing absolutely everything they can to free the hostages, but that's not going to be easy. No way. I hope my wife can join me shortly. Me too. Did the Palestinians vote for Hamas under duress? Likely so. That's a good question. Or is it under duress or under brainwashing? You know, either one, same thing. When do I sleep? As soon as I get done with this live shot, I'm gonna go to sleep. No, Israelis are not going to work. The kids are not going to school. Everything here is closed except for just a very few stores. Somebody says there are U.S. American troops are there. There are some American troops here in Israel, but they're not fighting. They're not on the ground in Gaza or anything like that, and they won't be for the most part. Well, Becky, that's why you say it's very difficult to know the truth and sort through the lies, and that's why I'm doing this live shot, so you can ask me questions, and I'll do my best to tell you the truth. Are the IDF familiar with the tunnel system, and have they? Yes, they have special engineering units that's all they do is train to take out tunnels, and they've developed special equipment to deal with the tunnels and to find the tunnels and things like that. And they're going to be using technology in this fight in the tunnels that they've never used before. So there you go. Is it safe to travel to Egypt now from America? Probably not, if you're an American. If you can't blend in as an Egyptian, it's probably not real safe over there. Are there bomb sirens where I am? Yes, there are, about 6 times a day at least. And we've been very fortunate today because I haven't had any since I was here. I just got here a few hours ago. How are numbers going up for hostages? Because the people who came in here and who did this murdered so many people, and they did it in such a horrific way. They burned many of the bodies, and so identifying the bodies is taking a long time. And so they're having to do, you know, DNA analysis and that sort of thing to try to figure out if somebody was captured or if they were killed. Sometimes they still don't know. And actually, there are still Hamas terrorists running around in Israel who came in on October 7th, and they've been hiding out for 2 weeks, and they just caught another one this morning down here. The IDF is supposed to be one of the best in the world. They are. You see the technology that showed the tunnels over 30 plus feet. I've done stories about the tunnels before. Am I former military? Yes, I was a U.S. Army Ranger in the 75th Ranger Regiment, and then flew helicopters as a Aero Scout observer, which is kind of like a co-pilot on a scout helicopter, for 4 years while I was in college. Innocents will perish. Yeah, that's true. Do the Israelis want U.S. presence? They do not expect the United States to join the fight other than providing material, ammunition, and intelligence to the Israelis and letting the Israelis run with it. They don't need our troops on the ground, although there will be some special forces type guys that probably come in here. And I've seen some in Israel. There are some here. Do I get to sleep despite the sirens and bombs? I actually have been sleeping pretty well. Thank you. I appreciate you asking. Do I think the conflict might spill over into Egypt? I don't think so. How is the winter season in Israel? It does get cold here. I've been here before when it was snowing, but right now it's like 85 degrees in the south of Israel here on the beach. It's hot. Thank you for thanking me for my service. Are they allowed to gas the tunnels? Well, if they did, they would gas whatever hostages might be in the tunnels, so that's kind of difficult. They have a very, very difficult job ahead in clearing those tunnels. There's no way. Gabby says, we only hear the leftist view here. I'm not sure what you're talking about, Gabby. I've been accused of being a lot of things, but a leftist isn't one of them. All right, well, here's a question. Are there earthquakes in this area? There are earthquakes, but not on a regular basis, I wouldn't say. Heard they're eating steak and lobster out on the ship. I heard that as well, that they were eating steak and lobster, which usually means that they're about to go in. But it could just mean that the steak and lobster was getting old and they had to use it. That's not exactly a precise measurement of whether or not the war is about to start. Yeah, I don't like to talk politics. I log 74. I live outside the United States, right? So the nice thing about living outside the United States is I get to see politics from the outside in and not the inside out in the United States, and I enjoy that. Are there any news on the ground? Any news on the ground offensive? No news other than the explosions I've been hearing and the jets that are overhead as we speak. Esther, if you want to know how to pray, I would pray that God would thwart the plans of evil men. Just pray that God would thwart the plans of evil men, and I think that pretty much covers it. How do they see Christians? There are very few Christians in Israel, other than the tourists. The Christians, I think it's 1.6% of the population are Christians, and so they're such a minority that they're more of a curiosity than anything. I would say I don't think there's a lot of persecution toward Christians necessarily, although lately some of the extremist Jews have gotten, for some reason, fed up with the Christians. I think that's because of the Armenian issue. If you're not familiar with that, Armenia is the world's first Christian nation. I came here to Israel from Armenia, where I was there reporting. The Armenians have been in Israel since the 4th century. And their legacy, Christian legacy, goes all the way back to 301 AD. So a quarter of Jerusalem, of the old city, is called the Armenian Quarter. And there are Armenian churches, there's Armenian writing, there's a lot of Armenian stuff out there, right? So since they have that quarter of the old city of Jerusalem, apparently there was an issue that came up where a priest or bishop or somebody sold some land in the Armenian Quarter to a Jewish businessman who was planning to develop it into a resort. And the Armenians got pretty upset about that, had a bunch of protests. They had some clashes between Armenians and Jews. And now this is sort of spilling over, and some of the more extremist Jews have been seen literally spitting on Christian tourists and stuff, which is not a good look, Israel, because nobody supports Israel like evangelical Christians. And if you want to, crush your tourism, just start spitting on your tourists, right? Yes, I changed hotels today. No, not for a higher vantage point, for a closer vantage point, because I was in Jerusalem last night. Now I'm in Ashkelon. So Jerusalem is a little over an hour from the Gaza Strip. Right now I'm about 2 minutes from the Gaza Strip if I drive fast, going this way. That's why I moved, because this war is about to go down, and I want to be closer to the action. Do I think they might be delaying the ground assault? Yes, I think they might be delaying the ground assault, partially because the United States has been pressuring them to do so. Raj, if you want to know why I moved to Panama, you need to follow me on my YouTube channel, which is The Hot Zone with Chuck Holton. I'm not going to talk about why I moved to Panama on CBN's time, but I'm happy to talk to you about it on my channel. So you can go to The Hot Zone. It's pinned in the top comment on this. The link to it. You can follow me for more of my travels and reporting around the world. Like I said, I go to about 25 countries a year, all bad countries. I don't get to go to the nice place. They need to have a war in Aruba sometime or something. But that's my shtick. And so I go to wars and disasters around the world. If you want to follow the other places that I go, you can go to my podcast at The Hot Zone, or go to chuckholton.locals.com. You can follow all my reporting there, my writing. I've got 10 books in print. You can Google that on Amazon and find my books. You can find my documentaries. My most recent documentary is about the Armenians, and it is called Armenia, A Love Story. It's won 11 awards so far, and it's my best. I've done 65 documentaries, and I think that documentary is the best one I've ever done. Thank you, Seven Spectal, for subscribing to the channel. Thank you. Any other questions? Has there ever been a place that gave me PTSD? Yes, and I tell you what, I'll do a video about that on my channel, because again, I want to talk about Jerusalem. Yes, I love my job as a journalist. This is what God made me to do. He prepared me, He gave me all kinds of training to do this. Government needs to stay out of Israel's way. That'd be nice. Do I have a cameraman with me? No, my specialty is traveling and reporting alone, so I do virtually everything myself. I've got a whole setup here just to show you behind the scenes a little bit. I've got a camera there that I use for live broadcasting, and there's a light, and right below us is my laptop. It's all set up, I'm broadcasting on this camera here. So I'm a backpack journalist. I do it all myself, and once in a while I'll be fortunate enough to have a cameraman with me, or have one of my family members. My daughter and my middle son are both great camera people, because they've been following me around for a long time. So they come with me sometimes and help me out, but most of the time I just do it by myself. All right, well, we're at almost an hour. thank you so much for staying on and listening, and for all your engagement, your questions. This is the new kind of news right here, folks, where you can not only listen to what is going on, but ask questions, give your opinions, and most of all, I hope you will pray for the people who are hurting here in Israel and in Gaza. And I pray that you will, let's just pray right now. Lord Jesus, I thank you so much for this medium that you've given us, this technology, that we can reach out to the whole world and tell the story of the people who are hurting. And just, Lord, we pray for those people right now. We ask that you would send your angels to camp around those who fear you and rescue them from evil men. We pray that you would thwart the plans of evil men, and that you would guide and give wisdom to righteous men, so that they can overcome the evil, and the evil will just go away. Father, we pray for peace in our lifetimes here in Israel, for these people and for all the people in the Middle East, Lord. That's a big ask, but you're a big God. So we trust you, we love you, and we thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, folks, God bless you. We'll see you tomorrow.